You've got McAvaney, Cometti and Roberts. And then you've got these two, nuffies, living in denial. It's Croft and Horto. Welcome to the Fat Side Podcast.
Rob, it's been a couple of weeks since we've spoken to a player or a former player or anyone associated with the AFL, and today we're going to be speaking to former Gold Coast Suns player Tommy Nicholls. Tommy, welcome to the Fat Side Podcast.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for having me, gents. Pleasure to be here.
Mate, it's great to have you on, and I must say it's great getting you on at the moment because the Suns are absolutely flying. Everyone's speaking about them at the moment. Of course, I'm a mad Melbourne fan, and I'm pretty disappointed with how they're tracking. So, and I think Rob's probably the same. He's not really happy with his Bombers after last week against Carlton. So we're on the Suns bandwagon, mate, and what do you think of it all at the moment?
Mate, to be honest, I'm a bit flat it wasn't this case when I was playing, but I'll take the good times when they come. But you're right, it's very timely. The boys are absolutely flying. So, from my perspective, the lid's well and truly off, but hopefully they can continue their form.
Talk about them a little bit more later on, but this is all about you, Big T Nicks. We want to talk about your career and your experience in the AFL. You were at the Suns for, I think, the best part of 9 years, wasn't it?
How long have we got? This will be a pretty short interview then. Yes, 10 years actually, mate. I was super lucky to go up there as a 17-year-old as an early selection, and actually finished year 12 up there. So that year we were in the VFL, but that was a super enjoyable year.
Now, you retired at a pretty young age when you think about it. Most players, Tommy, hit their peak at 27, 28, but you opted out of footy for some reasons that I'm aware of. We had a bit of a chat about it when I was with you over at your brother's wedding in Hawaii. Nice little plug there, but what a weekend that was. But, mate, tell the listeners, why you decided to go, because from my personal point of view, you look at it, you probably could have had another tilt at it. But, I think you summed it up pretty well when we had that chat. So what were the reasons?
Yeah, sorry, mate, you just cut up there, but I think I got the gist of it. I suppose, my career trajectory was a bit like we were talking about before, my brother's puberty. It just really, really peaked early and then, sort of went downhill from there. So I'm not sure if we can talk that on this one. But, I suppose the way I look at it, you're right, that was actually sort of the turning point or the decision catalyst for me over in Hawaii there at Paddy's wedding. But for me, it was a combination of two things. It was I just finished my uni degree, and I was really excited about the next phase of my life. And as a result of that, was that I deep down, without sort of articulating it with anyone, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to commit and give 100%, like 110% of myself, which is like absolutely required at AFL. And I just had this overwhelming sense of like letting my teammates down and everything. So sort of those two things in conjunction with what led me to make that decision, which actually occurred 2 days after the wedding, I think. And also, like, you talk like when you talk about like guys finishing up at a young age and whatever. I probably only had, I hadn't played a senior game since 2016. Obviously, Witsy was playing really good footy and captaining the club. I hadn't really, I hadn't put out a product, I suppose, or proven to other clubs or whatever that I was still sort of capable of playing at that at the elite level. So in my mind, I probably only had a year or two left anyway. So and whether or not that would have culminated in AFL games, that's who knows.
There you go. Now, you've touched on it before. Tragically, you did grow up with Adrian, so I do apologise for that childhood you've had there, Tom. But your actual footy journey, where did it all start and when did you sort of start to get recognised? Because if I'm not mistaken, you played a fair bit of volleyball as a junior. Is that right?
Yeah. So growing up in Yarrawonga, as you said, scarred by all the Horton family except for Dave and Jules, lovely people. Grew up playing tennis, as everyone did. In Country Vic, volleyball and basketball at school, and probably didn't take up footy. I played a couple of like junior games here and there in Yarra, but didn't sort of take it up until I was about 12 when we moved to Melbourne for Pat's footy. So, that was sort of the first season for me. Under 12s, we had a pretty successful junior career, actually. But yeah, just fell into it because all the guys and a couple of girls actually were playing it at school, and yeah, just like love the team aspect of it, like with a lot of team sports.
I won a flag for the Pigeons in under 13s. I left a little bit too early, Tommy? I didn't get a chance to see you grow and develop back in Yarra. Did you end up winning a flag for the Pigeons?
I actually played one game for the Pigeons when I think it was like under 11, like the year we moved. No, we didn't win a flag. It was more that it was that like round robin tournament. So I think we played Cobram, and yeah, so I did get best on ground.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Anyway, I just quickly wanted to talk about, and we'll only give him 2 minutes of airtime. We've alluded to this man, your brother, Pat. How much of an influence was he on you? Because for the listeners that don't know, Pat was an exceptional tennis player, was with the AIS, was one of Australia's brightest talents coming through the ranks. I think he was the second youngest player to get an ATP point behind Leighton Hewitt when he got that point, Tommy, at about 15 or 16 years of age. And he was on a trajectory and a pathway that suggested that he could become a great tennis player for Australia. But, of course, we know that his heart wasn't in it. But Pat was a very disciplined young man, obviously very committed to his sport. How much of an influence was Pat on you, just in terms of making sure that you did all the little things and got yourself right in your footy career?
Yeah, massively. I couldn't single out another person who influenced my career as much as Pat did. And in saying that, he travelled for tennis sort of during those like formative years of when I was sort of 13 to 16 playing footy. But obviously, yeah, had that influence by seeing what he did as an example. But even more so once I was playing sort of semi-regular senior footy, I'd come home in the off seasons and he'd be dragging me out the door to go and do runs and everything like that, because as you said, he was so disciplined, learned from a young age sort of what it took to become an elite athlete. And yeah, that just rubbed off on me. And he was super, super influential.
Now, before we get to the Gold Coast, I've got one more for you, Tommy. 2008, 2009, you were at St. Kevin's College, where I attended. And I do
Did
remember...
you know, hang on, did you know Rob at all?
Yeah, you were the year above, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. I was the year above.
Were you a big deal, Rob?
You were the one that bullied me after. No, I'm joking. That was Paul Jones. Because sorry, keep going.
Paul Jones bullied a few kids, that's for sure. Anyway, so 2009 season, very formidable lineup. I recall watching yourself in the middle of the ground with Mitch Wallace and Tom Liberatore, who are now at the Doggies, and Jared Casher, who spent some time at Carlton. And basically, Tommy would just play duck, duck, goose. He would just jump up and pick one and then down the throat. And it was a dominant year. Do you have any memories of that? Because they obviously went on to win the premiership.
Mate, yeah, massive memories for that. You're right. There was also Ben Casley, who was at GWS for sort of that first year as well, who was pretty, and yeah, had heaps. Still Conway was super handy too. In terms of the memories, probably shouldn't start with this one, especially the old Zavarian being here as well. But there was the St. Kevin's curse. So I could be wrong here, but I believe it was we hadn't beaten Xavier for 12 years.
It's about right,
yeah. And obviously being the other Catholic private school, massive rivalry. Always, go out to parties, and the Xavier boys would be trying to drink more beers than you and trying to put more people in wheelie bins on muck-up day than the St. Kevin's boys, which they successfully did. But yeah, so we came up against a pretty decent Xavier outfit. We had some serious form behind us, as you said, like pretty good midfield and just a tall chocolate man in the ruck. But I believe we're up. I think we're up like almost 10 goals at quarter time. Dan Hanbury was playing. He was sort of relatively quiet, and sort of came into the huddle. And Steve Wallace, who was coaching us at the time, was like, "Good stuff, boys. Like, keep that momentum going." And geez, we didn't listen to that piece of advice, because Hannah's came out second quarter and just absolutely torched us. And we ended up like choking and losing. So the Xavier curse lived on.
I was there.
Yeah,
I was
right.
there. I remember it. I remember it greatly. I used to wander down and watch a fair few first games, and that was always one that I would attend. And I remember it well. It was a sad day, but luckily they did go on to win the premiership, and it is what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Same year as well. This is when obviously you get involved with the Gold Coast as a 17-year-old. Talk us through that getting picked up, because it wasn't like the regular draft system that a lot of people go. Talk to us about, who gave the tap on the shoulder and how did you feel actually getting that call up?
Yeah, so obviously they'd sort of been doing their research on that sort of crop of 17-year-olds who turned 17 sort of in the first quarter of that year. And I suppose it started probably the year before when you came through the AIS Academy. So they'd obviously kept an eye on me from there, school footy and then a few TAC Cup games. And I think they were able to pick 12. So I think they picked 8 sort of straight away. And then there were 4 spots left, and they invited 6 of us to draft camp. And I was actually injured at the time, which probably helped me. So I didn't have to do like the 3K time trial and everything else. So who knows? I must have spun a web in the interview. But I just remember finishing off that school footy year, and as you said, like winning the premiership with Skevs, which was awesome. And then I remember getting a call, probably sort of a couple of months later. That's right. I had a year 12 RE exam, and the phone call was they wanted me to move up straight away, and I said I had to sit that exam, and then moved up. What was it? November 2009. So, failed the exam.
Are you still applying? Yeah, I was going to say you were still applying what you learn in year 12 religious education to your day-to-day life?
Texan traditions, John 3:16. That's definitely not the verse, but Tom Purcell was our teacher, and for the Cavinians out there, know him, absolute legend.
Great man.
Oh God. What about the family, Tommy? When you did get that call up and you were relocating to the Gold Coast, what was it feeling like for Andrew, Connie, and Pat?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting because we had the choice to stay down and sort of finish a year 12 in school, which is what one of the boys did. But it was never really an option for me. I wanted to get up there and develop as quickly as I could. But yeah, they were both they were stoked. I remember Pat was in tears, Mum was in tears, and she missed me a little bit. But Pat and Dad were certainly like, get up there as soon as you can. So I've still. I haven't really given it much thought, but you still remember the night quite vividly, actually.
Very good. Now, mate, the next one, your debut, round 8, 2011. I think it was at Footy Park against the Crows. Not a great day, didn't get the win, but you got the chance to run out into the field and fulfill a dream. What's it like? Is it really surreal? You come through juniors, and every kid that kicks a footy around probably thinks about playing AFL footy. Can you describe that feeling when you're actually out there on the ground and it's real?
Yeah, a lot of memories leading up to that and during the game as well. One of them being we had before the game, you obviously have your on-field warm-up, and I just remember I just had so much built-up nervous energy. We went for a walk before the game, and I was asking Bluey and all the others about their first game and what they did. And we had this little handball drill, and I was just absolutely flying around like a madman. And Campbell Brown pulled me in, grabbed me by the scruff of the jumper, and he's like, "Mate, I fucking love your enthusiasm, but fucking don't spend all your energy before the first bounce, yeah?" And I was like, "Oh, cheers, Brownie, thanks." So that was good. That kind of leveled me. Started on the bench too, which kind of helped. But just an amazing experience. Had the family there to watch, and I think we got smoked by Adelaide, but Gaz had an awesome game. Trent McKenzie kicked a couple of bombs from 70 out, and that was a good time. We actually were leading into the bye, so I remember I went back down to Melbourne sort of as you did after the bye, and got around all the boys, and just reminiscing on the first AFL game, and then came back up to the Gold Coast the next week and came up against the Geelong outfit who had I think who'd they have at the time? They had a couple of big ruckmen anyway, and Bluey sat me down. He's like, "Look, mate, you weren't."
Mumford?
No, I reckon Mumford might have been at Sydney by that stage. He may have been, actually. He may have been. He said, "Look, mate, you weren't the best on the ground, but you weren't the worst. But you're gonna have to sit this one out." So debuted bye, dropped the next week. Great
Awful.
start.
You poor bastard.
Yeah.
There you go. Now, most of your AFL career, Tommy, you were certainly battling injuries, but you did get a few good games there at points. And I think one of the things that you got to be credit for is that you were almost a ruck rover in a sense. And I think what sort of got you noticed when you did play a few string games together was that you weren't your big lumbering clunk tap ruckman. But as soon as you hit the deck, you were in there. You're in the Rovers. You got lots of tackles. And I remember you ballooned out in your Super Coach prize for a couple of games there, and everyone was sort of getting around you. But was there specific games that were the highlights of your career? Maybe best losses or your best performance?
Obviously, all the first win. I think was in my third game against North Melbourne against Todd Goldstein. And
surprised it wasn't Melbourne, Tommy.
Yeah, true. I think they were my third and fourth wins sort of a year after each other. So that was good. He was in some really good form. I don't think he was All-Australian that year because we beat him. No. So that one sticks to mind. We had a really good win against Collingwood in 2013, against Witsy as well, actually. Quite poetic AFL, isn't it? And Gaz had like 40 and 4 goals, I think. So there's definitely certain games that stick out, for sure.
Now, Tommy, you were there for 10 years, as you said before, and I think one of the things that Rob and I find fascinating, and I guess a lot of people do in AFL circles, particularly down here in Melbourne, is just how intriguing Gold Coast is as a club and some of the cultural things that people have spoken about, and perhaps a lot of people not really knowing what actually happens inside the club, and people slinging a lot of shit and a lot of crap at the Suns over the journey. For what it's worth, I think Rob and I have said a few times that we've never been big fans of the Gold Coast move from a holistic AFL perspective. But we're starting to see some real shoots of promise at the moment. What was it like to live through a time when so many people didn't think that this entity of the Suns and trying to forge an identity and trying to become credible didn't work or wasn't going to work? What was it like having to live through that with all that conjecture and all that speculation?
Yeah, well, I suppose to some extent, although they're sort of silencing a few of the haters now, I still feel they're living through that, to be honest. And I'd be interested to get your thoughts as to why you guys didn't think it was a good sort of expansion move. But to live through that, we sort of tried to. We're in a bit of a bubble up there, so we weren't subject to it too much. Whether or not that was to our benefit or detriment is, still up for debate. But also, we just tried to use it as fuel to sort of prove those people wrong, and everything else. From my perspective, obviously, we didn't have all the certain everything in place to be successful when we were there. We certainly had a good list of talent and some really good players who could play on their given day. But I suppose what I'm trying to say is I feel like it's the best external environment to play footy in the country. I mean, you've got like ideal climate in terms of training and playing all year round. You're away from the media bubble, which you see a lot of players coming through now who I'll listen to your guys chat with Boydie on the other month, and like amazing chat, obviously, but you don't realise how many guys suffer from that, those mental health issues, and I think a lot of that comes from the media scrutiny, probably more so social media scrutiny now, and you've definitely hidden away from that up on the Gold Coast. There's not too many distractions, but it is just a very fickle market commercially, and there are a lot of there's not too many routes up on the Gold Coast that are tied to AFL. So, yeah, it's a tricky market, but if they can get it right, and I think a lot of that will be at the back of success, it'll be a massive one, I think.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why at least 80 and I have sort of not been a fan of that move is that as a city, and you sort of touched on it there, it is a bit of a graveyard for sporting clubs, whether it be the Titans or Gold Coast United. It doesn't really matter the sport. There's just been a history of clubs struggling there. And, hopefully maybe the Suns are the ones who can break that trend moving forward. Talk to me about your relationship with Guy McKenna, because he got a pretty hard job, basically the new club. It was pretty difficult. Did you feel like there was a strong direction at the beginning of his tenure?
Speaking on our relationship, that was like great. If I'd see him in the street, I'd say good day and have a chat. He was always, supportive of me, and in that sense. To answer your question, looking back, I think he did get a tough job, but that's the strategy that the club wanted. They wanted a new coach. From all report, like we had Danny Stanley, and Sam Miles, who'd brought across from Collingwood, and they completely vouched for him as an assistant coach. But I think that's the thing. Once you get the reins and you're at the helm of being a senior coach, I think it just changes the dynamic completely, and it's just a whole nother level of pressure, and it's a massive challenge. So, whether or not, again, like you always compare to GWS, they obviously had more of a sort of a succession plan in place, and whether or not Leon Cameron was able to learn more so from having Sheeds at the head earlier on. Also had like really good experience from Choco Williams as a sort of more a senior assistant. Whereas we had, I suppose it was Bluey he still had some experience assistants with him, but it was just a different strategy, and obviously didn't pay off as well as we wanted.
Croft, are you going, Croft? You go.
Yeah, I'll go. I was going to say that was obviously your time with Bluey McKenna. But tell us about Rocket Eade, because he's known for his sprays, old Rocket, and blowing a gasket with his big bright red face. Did you ever cop any sprays from old Rocket?
I copped a great one. I said it to someone the other day. So we're playing Richmond 2016, I believe, just before the bye. And we'd been sort of leading up. We'd been challenged by Dean Solomon, who's just one of the all-time greats, about not being hard enough and not sort of following through with sort of promises that we'd make before the game. And one of those being like getting a player in the gun, as we used to call it. So you'd have a target player who'd go after just to try and disrupt the balance of the team. And anyway, that week it was Trent Cotchin, and I think we were losing like sort of majority of the game. And last quarter we snuck ahead. I remember I kicked one of my very few goals. I'm not sure if it was after that one, but I've run up to him and I've sort of like throughout the game, I'm like, oh fuck, no one's getting into Koch. And so I was like, yes, I'll seize my opportunity here. Like, just give him the what for after. So I run up and go to hip and shoulder him, and he slips. My arm slips, and I like elbow him in the head. So I immediately give away a free kick after we've got some momentum back, and I'm pretty sure we took the lead. Anyway, he's just bombed it long, and Dusty's taken a mark 1-on-1, and he's and followed up like with the next 2 goals. So just completely changed the momentum of the game. Looking back, probably lost the game off my own boot or off my own bloody elbow. And so we've gone into the rooms. I've stupidly sat front and centre. Rocket's giving you the debrief, and geez, he had about 2 egg sandwiches, I reckon, because I could taste a lot of curried egg. And anyway, as we were leaving, he again, we had the bye, so he obviously knew guys, and we're in Melbourne, so he knew guys were probably going to stay down and have a few beers. And started laying into me, calling me everything under the sun, and just slammed the whiteboard, and he's just yelled out, "All right, like, get out, boys, I've had enough." And as we were walking, like I was just walking to get to the door, he just yelled out, "And Nicholls, I hope your beers taste like shit." So just everything like beyond footy, like he'd given us the breakdown, and the last thing he left me with was, when you're having those beers, like, remember this, because they're going to taste like shit.
Well, it's 4X anyway, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah, true. The Milton Mangoes, but needless to say, they tasted delicious that night.
Yeah. Cheers, Rocket. Cheers. Murphy,
Hey, brother. Ooh.
Yeah, there are a few interesting incidents with Rocket and Scotty Horton down at pre-season training at Bowen not long ago. But anyway, but we won't get stuck into them. We'll talk about the big, lovely man Stuart Jew, who definitely likes a pie. Tommy, you might have to confirm his diet with us, but I love Stewie Jew. I think he's a bit of a cult figure. No doubt, he's a cult figure with Hawthorn fans, and an incredible third quarter he had in 08 and the granny. But it's starting to work for Stewie, and I'm happy for him because he comes across as a really likable guy in the media. What's he like?
Yeah, I remember his first year was awesome. Like, he, you just remember seeing him, like talking to like all the staff members and stuff after hours, which was obviously it's a superficial thing, but it's for me it's a great sign. Um, so like in that year it was like obviously not as much pressure. It was giving everyone the time of day, and sort of as I spoke about before though, like once again it was his first time in charge as a head coach. So sort of the next sort of 2 years, I suppose it got a bit more serious and like he had a bit more pressure from the board. So I think those things sort of fell away. And again, this is just from my perspective. The communication might have broken down a little bit. But yeah, definitely towards the end of my 2019 period, and from what the guys are saying this year, he's been able to sort of pick that up and have that as a bit more of his focus. And yeah, it's no surprise that it's translating into wins. But yeah, he's an interesting man, Dewey. I don't think he drinks. I'm pretty sure he doesn't drink beer. I think he just like this could be a complete furphy, but I'm pretty sure he just drinks like vodka cruises.
Oh,
There you go.
Don't quote me on that one,
Is it true that he gets a double quarter pounder meal after every win?
I think he gets it after every game, regardless. No. To be honest, I actually like the only times I like I'm going to go into bat for the man. I think he's just got like not unlucky, but I think that's just genetics. Like where I used to see him like in the heat room, like sweating up with a Big Mac. No, he wouldn't have any food. So I'd only see him training, and to be honest, I never really saw him. Was it eating or anything? So I used to call him Mountain as well.
Mountain.
Yeah, good. I like that. Yeah, no, we understand that one, Tommy, but that's good. Matt Rao, I sent you a text the other day where I think everyone's buzzing about this young bloke. I saw the fend off on Nat Fyfe on Saturday night. I was flicking between the Gold Coast game and the Essendon Carlton game. And the funny thing is, Tommy, I would never in a million years, until now, flick between a Carlton Essendon game. I normally would have been watching that one. But such is Matt Rao's promise and his presence at the moment that I wanted to get a bit of Rao in my diet on Saturday night. This kid's berserk. I think I said it to you, Rob, the other day. Like, we could actually be watching the GOAT right now. And I know that's big to say, and he's only...
Until he gets hurt.
Yeah, he's only 4 or 5 games in. But like, Tommy... What do you think of it all? Are you texting any of the boys up there at the Gold Coast that you're still friends with and talking about this young man? Because I've never seen anything like it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, in terms of friends up there, I don't have any. They've all given me the flick. But he came through halfway through the year, and just from the brief encounter I had with him, he just seemed like really uncomplicated guy who loved his footy and was just super competitive. And I think that's what we're seeing on the field. Yeah, in terms of like what the other guys say, I remember like pre-season he was braining it, and it's just a natural ball inside the contest, which is pretty amazing for, as you said, a first year player. But yeah, I just I love all the quotes that are coming out. What are they? It's like Matt Rao doesn't dance to music, like music dances to Matt Rao, and all those ones, which are great for the cult figure status. But yeah, I'm just wary of him, being sort of subject to all these comparisons and sort of him losing focus. So hopefully that's where the Gold Coast location can come in and help him being a bit sheltered from it. But yeah, no, I'm all about the tuck in the shorts, tuck in your jumper bandwagon. I used to do that for the team photo day, but yeah, obviously no one remembers that. So
another young lad who's looking pretty promising is Ben King. I know you spent a year with him, and look, from the games that I've watched him, I think he could be the real deal. Any insights into the young man?
Oh, Kingy, he early on. He played a couple of reserves games, so I was like lucky to play a few NEAFL games with him. And you just got a sense early on that he was an absolute horse. Used to like jump over blokes, and still, I think, physically he's got a lot of development left in him. But the other thing was we got really obsessive with like doing one-on-one contests, like all the big guys. So after training, we'd be out there for like literally hours just doing like one-on-one marking contests and just like, yeah, it was just like such a good show of like dominance or whatever. And yeah, he used to like, I was his absolute bunny. Like he just used to take the piss on everyone. But yeah, especially me. He's just so wiry and athletic, like reads it really well. And you think you've got him done, but he'll just hold on to it. So yeah, really excited to see his development too. And a great fella as well.
Tommy, Daniel Gorringe, he's an interesting unit. He's a bit of a weirdo, serious weirdo to be honest. We've reached out to him on multiple occasions to get him on this award-winning podcast. It hasn't happened yet. He stitched us up. We were ready to go. We had it all locked in, and then about half an hour before we were meant to record with him, he went missing, and I think that was only a week before Big Brother started. So clearly he's a bit too good for us now, which is fine. But he is a serious weirdo. You're a good friend of his, and I want you to tell the story about schoolies, please.
Dicko used to have his own guest list at like sort of like the one nightclub that we used to go to on the Gold Coast. So yeah, big guys would be strutting around and telling girls that he was Charlie Dixon, and some of them would be like, "Oh, you're the guy with the guest list at Love nightclub." So that in itself was hilarious. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Apparently, I was successful in one of his expeditions, and the next day the girl followed the real Charlie Dixon on Instagram and sent him a message saying, "Oh, thanks for last night" and whatever. And Charles replied saying, "What are you talking about?" I have no idea. So yeah.
Oh, gosh. I heard you and Gold spent a bit of time in Vegas as well, Tommy. How'd that pan out?
Yeah. So again, Campbell Brown comes into this one. He organised because obviously there was my crop and then the draftees that were all sort of 92 born. So as soon as we turned 21, Brownie took, there was like, I want to say there was like 16 or 18 of us to Vegas. We went there for 7 nights. So we spent a week in Vegas. Stupid, but yeah, unfortunately, not many of those stories I can share on here. But as you can imagine, Goz is a man who's sculpted like a Greek goddess, and he's well and truly in proportion every body part. So there was some.
What?
What are you trying to say?
No, nothing. Some people call him the tripod, but I don't know why.
How did you go with the Gold Coast nightlife, Tommy? Were you a bit of a VIP client on Cavill Avenue?
Not at all. What did we like? I suppose in our first year, when we were sort of allowed to, we enjoyed some of the sites up there, but they actually brought in a curfew, so we weren't allowed in surfers, and we had to be home by midnight for maybe 2 years there until some of the senior guys got that changed. But not really. I suppose that was one of the things you missed about Melbourne. There was just always more happening down here than there was up there.
Tommy, last one from me, and then we've got a quiz for you. It's a constant debate between mainly just Collingwood and Melbourne supporters. There's a few other random supporters that throw their hat in the ring, but you're a big man. You're 203 centimetres. You love ruckcraft more than most, and I just want to ask you who you think the best ruck in the comp is. Is it Gawn? Is it Grundy? Or maybe is it even Goldstein? I think people forget Goldstein had a 4 or 5 year period. Bellchambers, shut up, Rob. Who do you reckon it is? Who would you pick out of those three, or is there someone else I haven't mentioned?
I'm going to say currently it's Grundy, because he's so consistent and just so damaging as well and so strong. I'm going to say if Gawn can get to his best, I'm going to say it could be Gawn, but that's kind of a worthless comment. I'm also going to throw this in here. I think going forward and the changing of the guard is going to be Rowan Marshall.
Ooh. Yeah, I think you're right there.
Rowan?
I saw him down at in that pre-season game in Moorabbin here, and I just really like the way he goes about it. Okay. Good hands, big rooster. I get the vibe that he just really likes that physical side as well.
Yeah.
No, it's a good call. I don't mind it. But anyway, I didn't enjoy the Gorn comments. We might cut that out, Rob. But yeah, cool. We'll move on.
Alrighty. This is the quarantine quiz, Tommy. So we've done this with all of our guests over the past couple of months.
Have you still got the bulldog one? What is it? A bulldog?
Yeah, a bulldog or puppy.
That's the one. Yeah, yeah.
Is that we all playing? A bulldog or chihuahua? Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
We don't play that anymore.
Okay.
that was just a random game I played with Tom Boyd and pretty much scared him out of the studio afterwards.
Never spoken to him since. Never spoken to him since.
I thoroughly enjoyed it for what it's worth.
It was good. So this is just a bit of trivia, Tom.
Okay.
10 questions. Some are footy related, some are just general knowledge.
God.
I'll give you the leaderboard so you know who you're dealing with.
Yep.
Alex Johnson got 2. He's last. That's bottom rung.
Oh, poor AJ. Yep.
Middle range, you got Cale Morton 3, Joe Mercedes got 3.5. Brad Sewell, Sandy Roberts, Dennis Armfield, Russell Robertson all got 4.
Jeez.
Alan Tuvey got 5, and the great man Glenn Manton is sitting on top with 6. So
Jeez.
7 out of 10, and you're top dog. Okay.
He's a pretty smart boy, Tommy. I'll back him.
All right. Question number 1: who is currently the shortest player in the AFL?
I feel like this is a trick question. Is it not? Is it Caleb Daniel?
It is Caleb Daniel. Well done. Go with your gun. Nice easy one off the bat. Question 2: which classic Australian film features the Kerrigan family?
The Castle.
Well done.
Couple of easy ones off the bat.
Yep. Question 3: can you please sing the opening verse to the Gold Coast theme song?
We are the sons of the Gold Coast sky.
That's the first
Sorry.
line. I don't want the verse. I need a few more.
Oh, we are the ones in the red, gold, and blue. Hey, we are the mighty Gold Coast Suns. We play to win the flag for you. Fight, fight, fight till we hit. You want me to keep going, or
Yeah, keep going.
we sung it a fair bit in the NEAFL.
Okay.
Over the years, not too often in the AFL, but yeah, that's where I got.
No, that's enough. I've heard enough. Thanks.
There you go. I'm actually impressed. I mean, you did spend 9 years
Yeah,
there, but well done.
Hopefully,
I'm impressed. Question 4: what is the name for the Australian men's volleyball team?
Ooh.
is it an animal?
It might be.
Oh, you got to give me a hint.
We're not giving you clues.
It might
This
be.
is the quarantine quiz, mate.
Yeah.
Hang on.
If you played 9 years at
okay.
Essendon, I'd help you out, but you didn't. So
Oh, it's close to getting there. They're called the Australian ringtail possums.
no.
What?
They're called the Volley Roos.
They called the.
Oh, I have heard that before.
Yeah, I know.
They're called the Pigeon Roos.
Oh, the pigeons.
All right. Question 5: which planet is the 5th closest to the sun in the solar system that we're a part of? Which is the 5th one out?
Come on. Come on.
He's thinking.
Yeah, he really is thinking. I reckon he's cheating. I reckon he's looking it up.
Is the 5th closest? So Mercury, Mars.
Come on.
Fella? Is it Jupiter?
Yeah.
It is Jupiter. Well done. Well done.
He's on fire. How many has he got?
The rings
He's
of
on
Jupe.
4. He's on track.
Shit, you could win this. What's the prize
Question-
again?
Java City.
Glory. You just
I
get
think
glory.
it's a night out with Rob and I when ISO's all over. Yeah.
Look
that'd,
out.
that'd be so much fun.
Question 6: which Collingwood player's tackle dislocated Gary Ablett's shoulder in 2014?
That was a couple of weeks after I did my PCL, but again, no one talks about that. Brent McCaffar.
Brent McCaffar. Well done.
Oh.
He's on for the record here. Question 7: what weighs more, a pound of bricks or a pound of feathers?
Don't come at me with that shit. No, I'm joking. They're the same weight because they're both a pound.
Yes. There you go. Well done. He's not an idiot. He's tied for the leader.
Did someone fall for that? Have you asked that before?
Yeah, Alex,
well-
all the questions were like that and Alex got them wrong. He couldn't figure out that they're all cryptic.
No, really?
No, we're joking. Rob, in hindsight, you gave AJ some of the hardest questions.
Yeah, it was the first time. I gave him some hard
okay.
ones.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway.
These ones.
Either way. I've dumbed it down.
So this is he's on 6 with Glenn,
He's level.
and he's got
He's level.
3
3 to
questions left. So if you get one of these, Tommy, you're the leader.
Yeah. These actually get a bit harder.
Okay.
Question 8. Which NRL club did Carmichael Hunt play for prior to joining the Gold Coast?
NRL, because he was at the
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, the Bronx.
Play for
Oh,
he
he's-
played for the Broncos.
That was
Well done.
Right, leader. Glenn Manton's been dethroned.
Question 9. Cooper Pedy is located in which Australian state or territory?
South Australia.
Bang, he's still going. 8.
Well, this is
All
the
right,
hard one.
Okay. This is the hard one.
Ah, shit.
Tom Nicholls, how many goals did you kick in your AFL career?
Oh, fuck.
not many.
Not many, if any.
Yeah, I was going to do Brownlow votes, but there was only one. So.
Did you know that? Did you know you only got one vote?
Yeah, you got to know that, don't you?
Where were you when you got it? Did you have a beer to celebrate?
Yeah. Who was that against?
No, it was against Collingwood. Yeah, it was against Witsy.
Oh.
Cheers, mate. Yeah. He's got the last laugh now, though. Jeez. Sorry. How many? Where was I
Goals.
for the Brownlow? Oh, with how many goals?
Goals.
Fuck, it's either 5 or 7. 7.
Oh, he's done it.
7 is correct. 9 out of 10.
7 goals in
We have a
45
new
games.
king.
That's embarrassing.
You were a ruckman.
Wow. Some might say those questions were easy, but well done. I think you did pretty
Nice.
well. I think you
See,
did
that's
pretty
the
well.
thing, Rob.
We're all pretty intelligent from Yarrawonga, so except for Benny Wilson.
There you go. Yarrawonga and a St Kevin's education. So it's
Except
clearly,
for
a
Benny
smart
Wilson
boy.
and Christian Hoare. I'll send this to them, Tommy.
It's a redder, yes.
Oh,
Neighbours.
Well, you did a great job there, Tom. I'd be
Thanks, I was nervous for that.
Oh,
I feel like they're easy questions, but
yeah.
doesn't matter.
I feel like you dumbed them down, Rob. I think there was a bit of, I don't know, cheating because you went to school together.
Yeah, the boys.
But anyway, whatever. So did you ever see Rob in the corridor? Did you know who Rob was? You did?
Like, I recognise him, yeah.
What was Rob like? Can you paint the picture? What was Rob like back in the day? What did you think of him?
Were you in, what was the house? What house were we in? Were you in the same house?
Nars and Kenny in red.
No, well, I was only there for like a year. As I said, I used to, because obviously year 11 and 12, you had the candy stripe blazer. So I came term 4, year 10, and none of the normal blazers. So I had to wear the candy stripe blazer. So already sticking out like dog's balls. And yeah, I just remember Paul Jones, who like good friends with now, was just like, I'd be walking past in the corridor and he'd be giving it, "That's a huge bitch." In front of everyone, and I was just like,
So hang on. You've referred back to Paul Jones twice now. Just admit it. You don't know, or you couldn't remember who Rob was.
Come on.
no, I when I saw you in the street and you were like, "Oh," I was pretty sure I said like, "Oh, you were into Skevs, didn't you?"
And I was like, yeah, I did. Well, that's it. If you didn't spend much time down in the theatre, you probably wouldn't have known who I was. That's where I did my best work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good on you. Good on. And why did you do that, Rob?
Because drama's a great subject.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, yeah. And why are you growing your hair out?
No, it looks good.
Yeah.
You got a button going on there.
No, it's not quite a bun territory yet. We'll get there eventually.
Oh,
It's,
this is descending into madness. I reckon we wrap it up there, boys.
Love it.
I reckon we wrap it up there. But Tommy, thanks a lot for jumping on, mate. Appreciate your great insight into the Suns and everything that happened during your career. And like you said, mate, at least you can remind Witsy that you one-upped him with that one Brownlow vote that time.
Yeah, thanks. I don't think it's worth it, but yeah, thanks.
Nah, appreciate it.
Cheers, brother. Nah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. Legends.